Yeah. Oh, hello everybody. Michele Niles, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Move with the Military.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for being a community partner with us.
I
I
cannot
absolutely,
wait.
yeah, it's great. It's going to be amazing as we continue to grow this out, and I'm super excited to chat with you today, introduce you to our viewers, to our active military members, talk about your expertise within your area. So you're with Weikert Coastal Properties.
That is correct.
And tell us a little bit about your background. How did you get into real estate? How long have you been in real estate?
Oh,
All the
sure.
good stuff.
So I have actually lived here for 30 years. I'm originally from Williamsburg, Virginia. My
Mm,
dad retired there, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. I have a degree in exercise physiology, so that was my main career up until 3 years ago, and that's when I decided to do a career change. Um, real estate and my personal training business actually go hand in hand. So it's all about relationship building. And that's
absolutely.
one of the biggest things that I love in real estate. And the fact that there's something different every single transaction and every single thing. So I absolutely I'm very, very passionate about this job.
Yes. Well, and I love that you say that because it's so true. I know it's just real estate to some people. No, but it's not. It's really, truly not. It's challenging, in all the best ways and most difficult ways sometimes. But the reward at the end of the day, right? And so
Absolutely.
say again what your degree was in.
Oh, so it's actually kinesiology. I graduated from the College of William and Mary. So it was a program that developed us for either pre-med, pre-physical therapy, exercise phys, or any of those things.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I chose to go like the exercise physiology route, which is like the testing. I was a professional athlete, so it's like the physiological testing. Yeah,
I did not know that. What
was a pro
sport?
cyclist and mountain bike racer, but I was also, yes, I also ride horses and was a swimmer throughout my entire life.
Oh my goodness, I did not know that.
I was, can you tell I was a little hyperactive? So my parents are like, we need to find something big.
For this girl to do. I can relate. I can
Yeah.
relate. Horses,
A perfect business for me.
that's right, exactly. Putting it all together. So you've been in the area for 30 years. So tell us about the area. You're around two big Marine Corps bases.
We do,
Right.
absolutely. In Beaufort, we have Marine Corps Air Station Beaufort, and then we also have Marine Corps Recruiting Depot Paris Island, which everybody east of the Mississippi who joins the Marine Corps will go through Paris Island to become a Marine, both male and female.
Really?
Yes,
Every single one, regardless.
every single person, yes. And it
I
is
did
an
not know
island.
that.
Yep. And so Beaufort really has been based and built, in my opinion, around the military. It's a huge part of the economy. The people in Beaufort County are very passionate and very patriotic for our bases, and do everything every once in a while. When they do the reviews, the DoD does reviews of what bases are going to be closed. Everybody fights very hard to keep these bases open.
Yeah. Well, I would imagine that it's an integral aspect, especially, Paris Island for sure. If
Absolutely.
everyone on the east. So where on the west side of the Mississippi do they go?
So they're going to go out to California.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. I did not realize that. Learned something new every day. I love that.
And hold on, we're going to double check that. So you might have.
Don't hold her to it.
That's
We
right.
did not prepare for these
That's right.
questions.
I'm like, I think it's California.
Yeah.
Yep,
So you have obviously your father was in service.
he
What
was.
what
So my
branch?
father was a command sergeant major with the 82nd Airborne. So he retired when I was young. So he actually enlisted in 1942, served in World War II, Korea, Vietnam. He was an advisor for Kennedy, he was a Green Beret. He was also an airborne ranger. Yeah, he was one of the pioneers of like the Halo techniques and the ranger training programs. And then he served again in 1969 in Vietnam. And then as he so eloquently put it, they put me out to pasture, and he had to be reintroduced into, civilian life. And he actually was a command sergeant major running the ROTC department, from 1970 to 1975, which historically was a very tumultuous time. My father brought a lot of glory back to it. They still talk about him. And he was able to navigate, the protests that were going on and just that anti-military. And he wound up loving it, absolutely loving it. That was my father. Every job you do to the best of your ability.
Right.
And so we were actually supposed to go back to Fort Bragg, but he was asked for by name to go to Korea. And he had two choices. He went to the Pentagon to plead his case. Either you stay in, go to Korea, or you retire. And this is where a lot of families and spouses and in the military, you come to these crossroads where you have to make the best decision for your family. And so he chose to retire. He did not want to take us to Korea. And everybody that knew my father thought that he would just sort of fade away because that was his life. But, he didn't. He had me to kind of, raise and take over. So, but we lived the military life. My dad had a crew cut till the day he died, never took off his olive drab socks.
You can see a veteran by the way
Absolutely.
they dress. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
They don't have to have the insignia or the hat. I've walked up to gentlemen before. You can just tell by their stature. And I just thank them for their service, and they're taken back that, how can you tell? You can
You're like,
tell.
oh, trust me, we can tell.
Yeah, you can tell.
And in fact, everybody used to joke that when they would come around my father and be like, he jumped out of a perfectly good airplane.
Yeah, right?
Yeah,
This 82nd Airborne, they're crazy. No.
that's right.
No, we love everything that they've done. And gosh, he did live through a very tough time. The sheer just unthankfulness of their service and
Is it?
disrespect.
Is it? And that is something that
Sad.
shook me to my core as a child because he was like, when you came home from World War II, you were a hero. Come home from Korea, pretty much the same thing. When he came home from Vietnam, he cried. And to
Yep.
have a sergeant major, Green Beret cry is a big deal. So it is something I take very seriously,
Mhm.
and showing that respect, because this is it's a volunteer job. They
Right.
put their lives, our servicemen and women put their lives on the line for us every single day.
Right. And if you don't agree or disagree, you still don't disrespect the servicemen and women that are dedicating their lives and putting it on the line, because at the
Well,
end of
here's
the day, we have to have them.
it's a funny story, but when Jane Fonda wanted to step on to Fort Bragg, because Fort Bragg is an open perimeter military installation. So my dad actually, they lined, every troop was there, they lined the entire perimeter to prevent her from stepping foot onto
Right.
Fort Bragg. Yeah,
Is it still an open perimeter?
it is. It
That is
is. It's
shocking.
a massive base.
It is a massive base.
Yeah.
It is, but
But
that's
they'll
kind of
know
shocking
who
to
I
me.
am. They will know.
Well, let's get back to your expertise,
Yes.
because obviously you've lived the military life. You've been moving PCS. How would you say that you've tailored your expertise to meet the needs of military home buyers in your communities?
So that's a good question. One of the first things that I did when I got my real estate license was get my military relocation professional designation, which sets me apart already from a lot of agents in this area.
Mm-hmm.
And it really takes into concern the needs, the stresses, the timelines for that PCS procedure. You're working with, especially the soldiers that are coming here are coming from either overseas, the West Coast, the East Coast, Texas. So you're working with different time zones. The majority of the time they are relying on you to find them that house. Like I just had a young pilot and his wife, PCS from Miramar and San Diego, and we did everything via, FaceTime because they could not get here until they were ready to move. So basically, they bought this house sight unseen, minus the videos, but they just trusted me because, I answer the phone at any time of the day or night, and I really take into consideration what the needs are. what the wants are. I listen to them, I hear them, and then they, and we just have that open communication.
Right. Well, and that's the thing is you can't be the type of realtor that is telling them what they need. You have to listen because they are, to your point, sight unseen. They have to trust, and you have to guide them based off of what they've said. Imagine technology. I mean, what it's allowed us to do for our military families, that they
Absolutely.
can now do a video walkthrough with you, and because pictures are a little deceiving on the
We
listings.
can make it, we can make a gorgeous house,
Yes.
or I can make a house look gorgeous.
Yes, exactly. But it's really hard on the videos with, do you just FaceTime them as you're walking
It depends.
through?
So it's either WhatsApp, like if they have the WhatsApp, which is a great free video service that I use with my friends overseas. Also Facebook Messenger if they
Hmm.
don't have an iPhone, does not everybody has an iPhone. So those are the different things that you have to take into consideration. And like you
Sure.
said, you have to really listen to them. There are, like you said, there are a lot of agents who are just going to tell people what they should do. You don't do this with are with the Marines, okay? Because they are used to being in charge, and so you have to respect their position in their career and in their life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So how do you help them decide, or I guess you have to listen to what they're looking for, maybe the size of their family, as far as like the different areas, right, that serve,
Sure,
and the
sure. And that's
communities
in
that
part.
are around the bases.
So if it's a referral, let's say coming from an agent that has worked with them in another area, they're going to have a lot of insight already
Oh,
into that agent. So, I mean, into that family, excuse me. And so I usually try to speak at length with the agent and really get to know them that way. And then I'm prepared. I take notes, and then I get in touch with the family. But or I'm just using family because that's was my most recent transaction. And so then they a lot of times, and again, it's the beauty about technology. One, they have already gotten in touch with people that are going to be in their squadron, or going to be that they know already that have PCS to this area, or they're looking at Zillow, they're looking at Realtor. So the beauty about the Move with the Military app is that this is going to be another resource for them, that they're going to already be a little bit more educated by the
yep,
time that they do get in touch
yep.
with an agent. And then just like you said, if they want more space, if they don't want an HOA, and I know we're going to touch on this a little bit later, but those are some of the things that I take into consideration, that they're like very adamant, we don't want an HOA, don't want a new build, we like to do fixed up. There's a lot of things they like to put their touch onto a home, because they're going to be here for 2 to 4 years, depending.
Right. Now, do you find most of the buyers that are PCSing into that area? I mean, you obviously have the initial um, training that they go through, but
Mhm.
do they buy at that stage, or do you find that most of the buyers in that area are second time home buyers? This is their second duty station.
Yes, that is correct. So the vast majority are selling a property or keeping it as a rental property.
Hmm.
But yes, they have been through the home buying process already. The majority of them, yes, they have.
Yeah.
So, and that's what's great about this whole, like this, all of Beaufort County is set up. We have a lot of lenders that like focus solely on VA loans. And so that's taken into account what if they're going to be able to assume a mortgage. So yeah, so this is not, really the first time. And once they go through Paris Island, they're getting their orders to go on to, their different specialties. So they
Right.
usually don't stick around if you're coming out of Paris Island as a recruit, as a Marine, they're not going to stay in this area. They may return to this area at
Right.
some
Sure.
happens a lot.
Yeah. And how long are they there as a recruit?
It is. They're not like 3 months. It's
Okay. Fast and
yeah,
Furious, in and out. Let's get,
it's 4 months. It's 12 weeks.
yeah. Okay. And we had talked about that before too, with the families that come in for graduation, and having having you as a local resource too
Right.
for families that are coming in. I'm sure you get phone calls of for people where they can stay? If it's, is there a big Airbnb, VRBO type
There's a lot of Airbnb, a lot of
market?
VRBOs, lot more like newer hotels are being built in Beaufort itself. Over on
Okay.
this side, so we have Beaufort County is separated by the Broad River. So we say north of the Broad, which is where the military installations are, and then south of the Broad, which is where Bluffton, Hilton Head are on this side. So on this end, it's been developed a little bit more because they're so used to that tourism business.
Sure.
Beaufort now has a lot more hotels, within proximity for graduation. Graduation's always on a Friday. And so it's fun to see everybody driving in because they're like, my son or my daughter is down the Marine, and everything's decorated.
How neat would that be? I'll have to make a trip out there on a Friday, and then the families can stay and they can visit Hilton Head and all the beautiful areas that surround.
Of everything that there is to offer in this area. Because a lot of times it's the first time that they've been here,
Right.
and so it's a great time for them to come and explore it. And like I said before, their son or daughter may wind up circling back and being stationed in Beaufort in some shape or form.
Sure. What do you see are like the housing trends in that area? Is it a lot of single family, big properties, condos, new builds?
So yes, so let's start south of the Broad first in Bluffton. So
Okay.
this is about a 20 to 40-minute drive to either installation. You're going to be going against traffic. So the main road is called Highway 170.
Perfect.
So there are families that choose to live a little bit farther away from work. Like when my dad was in Fort Bragg, he lived in Southern Pines, so that's that personal choice for them.
Mm-hmm.
So on this end, it's going to be smaller properties, a lot more new construction. So
Okay.
we've got big communities with lots of amenities. And then once we go north of the Broad, you've got a little bit of everything. There's new construction coming in, homes that were built in the 70s that have bigger properties, not necessarily in an HOA, or if it is, it's a very relaxed HOA. As you go a little bit to the outskirts of the county, you're going to get a little bit more land. And even in Jasper County, which is still in the base housing allowance, they can live in Jasper County, don't have to live in Beaufort County. You're going to get a little more land if that is something that is super important to you. In fact, I just have friends that are PCSing from Missouri, and they were able to get 5 acres because that was very important for them.
Yeah. Is that the one with the horses?
Yes.
Yeah.
I know, my horsey peeps.
I love it. I love it. And your necklace is beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
So you would probably say north of the river. What type? What
North
was
of
it?
the Broad.
North of the Broad is probably your more established communities that have been there for a while, and then south is now getting more developed.
That is
And
absolutely correct. Yep.
yeah, with
And that's the choice. If you I like to say there's something for everyone.
right.
Because everybody just has that different take, on what they want. And the school systems, there's a lot. We have private schools, and then we also have the Beaufort County public school system. And I will say it is actually ranked 17th in the state. So it is a very solid, good school system. And each area, you can go onto their website, find out what the grading is for the particular schools, and then they can find which neighborhoods are zoned for which schools
within those areas. What would you say is the best resource for them to find that information? Is it on the school's website?
Yeah, so it's a Beaufort County school system. It's basically I wish I could put it into the chat.
We can put it in the show notes. We can put it in the show notes, and we also have, I think, the link on the app too for it. But we'll definitely put it in the show notes.
We do have the link in the app, and it is a huge, like I said, there's just tons of information on it. They're very transparent, about everything. So it's just I like to direct my clients to that if they have children that are of school age.
Do you find that you guys have a big homeschool community also?
Yes, actually, it is growing. And there's something to be said for that because, if you want to travel with your kids, or if your kids are in sports, it just gives them a little bit more. And so you can do, I think there's a couple different avenues that you can do the online with the Beaufort County school system. And then there also is just a very large homeschool community and that is all throughout the county.
I think that's fairly more common with military families, but I see it as a trend across the board, across the nation, right? More homeschool.
Yes.
But yeah, it's finding those resources for families that are moving into a new area and a new duty station is very
Correct.
important as well.
Yeah.
And I
Cool.
love that the school district's transparent
Mhm.
on what they have available to them, and really too where the what schools fall within the different subdivisions, or what subdivisions
Yeah,
fall within what
exactly.
schools.
Yeah, neighborhood subdivisions and what's zoned for what school,
That would be one of my biggest heartaches. Where am I going
Absolutely.
to land, and how do I know that where I'm going to land is going to have the schools, the other amenities and resources, and
Well, and
having
that's
somebody such as yourself that they can call is amazing.
absolutely. And that was again a big thing for my father because his mother was a teacher, so education was very important to him. And so he did do the research, and this is before computers,
Yeah,
did
but
the research himself
wow.
to find out how his kids are going to be educated.
Oh, goodness. So, do you have a success story of like a tough relo for a military family that you helped them through that you would want to share with us? Because there's
So
tough
I
ones out there.
fortunately have had good luck. I've had a very challenging one, and this is for a Gold Star family. That's about all I'm going to
Hmm.
say for that. Um, I feel like my superpower is like holding the deal together
That is,
and being able to stand up. Integrity is all we have.
mm-hmm.
And I am not going to allow somebody to push push if I feel that it is not going to benefit my clients. So that one was a very difficult one, but we got the deal done, and she lost her husband last year, and she relocated here. Yes, so. And then as far as working with my military clients, I've been so fortunate to work with having an agent on the other side. And this is what's unique about this area is not only do we have the active duty, we have a lot of veterans. So there's a lot of veterans moving to this area. So they, as a seller, also understands what the active duty, family is going through. Which
So,
really
as far as that, with like veterans, I know certain areas, especially around our military bases, are really good and offering like lower tax rates.
Mhm.
For instance, I was talking with Brandon Jackson, who's at our Tinker Air Force Base
Mhm.
installation, and Oklahoma City across the board, if you're 100% disabled veteran, you don't have any property taxes. So, are there unique aspects like that around your area?
There are. Full disclosure, I am not as well versed on the tax situation as far as income tax. I usually say, let's talk to your financial planner or your tax advisor because things do change quite a bit. The property taxes in Beaufort County are lower anyway than anywhere else.
Oh,
Not,
really?
no, 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 no. We're going to scratch that.
Okay, no problem. No problem.
Because I'm going to actually retract that. And so you can get homestead exemptions.
Okay,
And yes, and I wish I had found out more about that for you so I could have been a little more educated on
we can take the whole tax thing out completely, so
that.
that's not a problem whatsoever.
Okay.
Um, okay, so what would you say are some of the best neighborhoods for military families? I mean, you have some that are coming in, it might just be the military member themselves, but you have others, obviously, that are moving in. They've got families, they've got littles, they've got kids. You find that they probably want to be a little bit closer to the schools and the other local parks and amenities. Are there some of the areas that serve those families a little bit better?
Absolutely. So if you can look in Beaufort City itself, you've got like a lot of communities, like, and I'll give you a few names just so you know. There's Shell Point, Royal Pines, then we got Mossy Oaks on Ladies Island. You've got Royal Pines on Ladies Island. You got Laurel Bay, Pleasant Point. Over here, south of the Broad, some of the newer communities, like the D.R. Horton communities, Village Park Homes, Landmark. There's a lot of those, and they have a lot more amenities. And then you're going to have families that live there. Plus, you know, you're going to have retirees. You're going to have single people as well.
Right.
But if they're looking for like amenities in that particular neighborhood, those are just a few that have those. Like they'll have the pools, they'll have sidewalks. You know, it's safe for kids to play outside.
Right.
And there's a lot of parks in Beaufort County. There are a lot of parks, and we've got the beaches.
Got the
So
beaches, beautiful beaches.
yeah, so there's a lot to do
Gorgeous there.
outside for anybody, you know, as much as you want to do between tennis, pickleball, boating, kayaking, you know, even surfing a little bit, cycling.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hunting Island is one of the barrier islands that is just off the, you know, goes Ladies Island, St. Helena, and then Hunting Island is back there, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful state park.
No. Well, and what we touched on it earlier, some families they want that the countryside and a little bit of land and the quiet, which is wonderful, beautiful in itself. But you know, if you've got littles and you want to be kind of in the midst of it, it sounds like some of these newer communities that are coming up are a great resource. Of course,
Exactly.
I mean, the entire area is just gorgeous.
It is. I mean, you really can't go wrong. You really can't. And like in Bluffton itself, like we have what I call three city centers. We have like Old Town Historic Area. We have what's called Buckwater. And then the new section is New Riverside. And that pretty much from the neighborhoods that are along there, you can walk to all the new parks, all the new shopping centers that are there. And in Beaufort, everywhere, there are a lot of sidewalks in both sides of the county, so which makes it nice if you
Right.
don't want to have to drive everywhere. And then Beaufort itself is getting a lot of newer, like they're getting TJ Maxx and Aldi's, you know, and things like that
Oh, very good.
into this side. Yeah, so
Growing for the families, right?
it's growing, right?
Yeah. So you know, the one thing that I love about the communities that are around our military bases is that they are all so supportive, right, of our active military members and offering discounts. Do you see a lot of local veteran-owned businesses out there as well? Which
Oh
is
my
great.
gosh. Absolutely. It is, and they will advertise veteran owned, but I will also tell you because our county is so built around the bases is pretty much everywhere you go, you're going to be offered a military discount. And that goes for active duty, reserve, or even retirees. And so, which is wonderful.
Absolutely. Giving back all the time, right? I
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
every chance that you can.
Yep.
Um, do you see, I know you guys got a lot of new construction going on, but do you see a lot of special programs or incentives for military home buyers?
Tremendous amount of incentives for active duty and veterans. Yes. And not just for military. I'm going to say like the incentives for the new builds are being able to offer those lower interest rates, being able to offer X amount of dollars in closing costs, you know, or in concessions. And then with the military, it's easier because they have the VA loan program in place, ready to go, you know, but using their lenders typically.
Right.
But yeah, so with new construction, 100%, they want, you know, it's a great opportunity for a family to invest in a property because pretty much when you buy a new build, you're going to have equity in that home.
Right. Right.
You know, it's just kind of the nature of the beast with that.
Well, and getting in, like you said, with the VA loan, no money down,
Yeah.
keep within your BAH, and then if you know you get PCS, you can keep that as a rental. Obviously, there's a lot of, like you said, tourism and people coming in. It's a great opportunity for military families in that area. to kind of build that wealth through home equity.
Yes, that's exactly. And it's great to see that they're thinking about that. Like these young, like my young pilot, like they're thinking about that. They're building their wealth portfolio.
There's so much more education around that, and I'm very grateful for it because
Yeah.
I mean, real estate is one commodity that cannot be reproduced,
That is
and they cannot make any more of it. And it's a great opportunity for individuals to start building some generational wealth. Absolutely.
absolutely.
And even if you keep it for a couple years after you move out and you sell, you've got that the appreciation value and roll that over to the next, and it just kind of
Yeah,
compounds itself.
absolutely. And that's the other thing that separates, I think, someone with MRP designation is being very familiar with the amount of money that they are going to be allocated
Mhm.
and making sure that they are staying within that budget.
Yeah, so talk to me a little bit about I've not had that conversation about the MRP designation for a
Mhm.
realtor versus someone that does not have that designation.
Mhm. So again, it's a very intensive course that you go through. And coming from the background I was very familiar with, because they really go through basically every rank, and every kind of situation that a military family, spouse, military individual is going to go through and what they're going to look for. How to be, and it really touches on, you have to be very respectful, professional, ethical, because that is how they live their lives.
Yeah, they're listening for that, right? They've got those key.
And they're going to see right through you.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And then I'm also part of a program called Military on the Move. And it is also now called Heroes on the Move, because at first was just for military, active duty, honorably discharged, and veterans. It now does include first responders.
Okay.
So your brokerage has to be one of the top three in the community to even be invited to be able to offer this. And it is, I give 20% back of my portion of the commission to my clients at closing. So it is something that for me is very, very important because my dad was enlisted, and they're they are worth a lot more than they are compensated. And it's one way that I can help ease that stress of moving.
Well, and it's expensive to move,
It is
right?
expensive to move.
Yeah, so even, though they're getting a VA loan with no money down and maybe they're getting credits for their closing costs, they still incur some personal expenses.
Oh, they do.
Regardless of how much you try not to, there are personal expenses involved with
Yeah.
the PCS process,
I mean, you just think about if you're PCSing from California from the West Coast to the East Coast,
which is not uncommon
and that
at all.
exactly, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to plan everything to the T because you've got the closing date coming up, and you want to hope that it's going to close on time. How much if you have shippers or if you're doing it yourself, you have to weigh, your truck and trailer, because there's so much that goes into it that people on the outside, and I know Sarah will say that, but that's kind of what we always say. People on the outside don't have to, they consider it, but it's a very different animal.
It is. It's very different. And I did not ever go through the PCS process, but I'm passionate about helping those that are because it just pulls at my heartstrings.
Yes.
Um, Period. So it is very, very different. So, well, let's wrap up here. We're kind of getting to that time.
Oh my.
Any last words of advice or encouragement that you would want to share with the listeners?
So yeah, so it is a stressful time. And we know that. But also make it, especially if you have littles, like make it fun for them because it's stressful for them. They're leaving their friends if they're of age. Once again, having to go and start over somewhere new. And you're very lucky in the Marine Corps because it's a much smaller, it's a much smaller group and you're tighter knit. So don't be afraid to lean on others, and especially your agent. I've got big shoulders. I can handle a lot. And it's something that I'm very passionate about. I would love to find my clients that special place that they're going to call home. And And again, make it as stress-free as physically possible for them.
Yeah. And that's a good point. It's you have to embrace the stress, right? Embrace the fact that it's happening,
Yep.
and you're a local resource there, and make it as fun and exciting and optimistic for, especially like you said, the kids,
Yeah.
um, because it is neat. The being able to experience other aspects of the country. There's some that don't
Yeah.
leave their little area, and they don't have that cultural experience.
Exactly.
And so it
Exactly.
is really, really neat to be able to have that experience.
And I would also say embrace where you're going. Because it's going to be home for the next 2 to 4 to 8 years, just depending on what the situation is.
Yeah.
So get out into the communities and get to really enjoy it. Like I said, pretty much everywhere you go, between restaurants and stores, offer those veteran discounts, and then supporting the small businesses in the area. It
Well, and
means
hearing the other stories too, right? Because
yeah,
they've been there. Most of them have been there and they've lived it and they've done that. And so hearing their stories, I would imagine would be words of encouragement and just
yeah,
neat to hear.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then just remember, for anybody that's on the outside, the sound you hear from the air station is the sound of freedom. Embrace it, because we got the F-35s here too, and those are fun to watch.
Very good. Well, Michelle, thank you so much for your time.
Thank
And we will have all of your contact information here next. So if anyone is moving out to Beaufort or Paris Island, Michelle will be happy to assist you. And I can just see your passion for it. And
Thank you
thank
so
you
much.
so much. All
I
right.
look forward to it.
Yep. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, bye, Michelle.
Bye bye.